Hello everyone, how's it going? So we get a full-length trailer for Disney Snow White. Now this is a live action film based on the 1937, I believe it was in 37 or 38, original animated film, and Snow White is a beloved Disney classic. The animation is absolutely spectacular, still holds up today, and it is definitely one of those films that I feel like everyone should watch. It is a beautiful film, very simple, but beloved by a large amount of people. But when this was announced, a lot of people had issue with it because Disney's live action films haven't exactly been pleasing. They've actually gone against the original source material, not, the Brothers Grimm's tales, but the actual Disney films that they're based on, and haven't exactly been well received, like The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid. They have this issue with they race swap the characters, and I've only seen Aladdin, and I saw it on a plane ride when I was going to my friend's 30th birthday in New Orleans, and I was just shocked of how bad it was. Like, Aladdin is one of my favorite films of all time, and I watched this, and I had to tell one of my friends, like, how much of a garbage film it was. Like, he was like, oh, I wanted to watch that. I was like, do not watch it. And I told him all the reasons I did not like it, especially the singing scene with Will Smith and the whole when Prince Ali's coming into Agrabah to win over the Sultan to win Jasmine's hand. I'm like, dude, I get what they were going for. Like, it's a live action film. They can't do everything that was in the original. But, dude, it's just one of those things you can't capture the wonder, amazement that the animated films have, such as with Beauty and the Beast, with the Enchanted Castle and all of that. But I'm trying to come at this with a reasonable look. Like, this film has had a lot of issues. It's had reshoots. Rachel Zegler, she's like Brie Larson. She's not a likable person. Like, the way that she was just crabbing on the original film, and that meme of her going weird with that, like, face. And it's clear that Disney's PR team has been hard-pressed for her to reverse course. Like, when she had that interview with Halle Berry with The Little Mermaid, everyone took notice about the way that her attitude just shifted like that. So it is clear that Disney is trying to capitalize on trying to recover this film in any way they can, because it is in an all-time low, especially among people who watched the original film. So let's watch this trailer. I rambled on enough, and see what they have in store for us. It's a little darker.
So, whistle while you work. Whistle while you work.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
Alright, so it's coming out in March. Okay, so first off, let's look at the positives. They definitely have the costumes down. Absolutely. The costumes, they look fantastic. And even though we get a short snippet of the song, it's okay. I think what really just shocks me is the fact that it's just the casting. Like, Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Now, the reason she's called Snow White is because her skin is so white, it almost looks like pure snow. Like, it is that pale. It's just like, you do not get that characterization when you look at Rachel Zegler. Why would she ever be called Snow White? And the biggest issue I have with this is the fact that the Queen, which I believe is being played by Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, she looks like the evil Queen. Like, look at this. This is a 1-to-1. It looks exactly like her. So why is it that you changed the way that Snow White looks, but you kept the way the Queen looks? Like, it makes no sense to me at that point. It's just very confusing of how they just race swapped Snow White, but then they kept the queen the way she's supposed to look. So that is a little bit weird in my opinion. Like the weird meme at that point. But another thing that I found a little annoying, because another quality of Snow White is that she's supposed to be very pure, innocent, very humble. Let me see if I can get the scene here where this scene right here where she does that little eyebrow thing. That's just so smug. Like it just looks like one of like a very smug look, and it just doesn't seem like something Snow White would ever do. So it's a bit confusing. Maybe Shrek's version of Snow White would do something like that, but they characterized her in a different way. In this situation, maybe that's what they were going for. They were going for the Shrek 3 version of Snow White. But even then, that at least looked like Snow White. In this consideration, it's very weird. And also with the chain. Like, I just noticed that she has like a gold chain. Why does she have that? Like, the whole idea of Snow White wasn't she supposed to be very humble? Maybe she had a gold chain in the original. It's been a very long time since I've seen that. But the costumes, they look really good. In terms of the animal design, they just look very plastically. Like, they look just so unnatural. It reminds me a lot of how the Lion King looked. Like, with the way the characters tried to express human emotions on top of those lion characters. It's just like the same situation I'm seeing here. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to replicate the design of the animals from the original film, which also had human facial expressions, but the way they made them was so cutesy that it fits their design. They were like animals with human faces on them, and because they designed them like babies in a way, they were very cute and appealing. But in this, I don't know, they look almost just off. Like you're in a dream world where everything just seems odd, like something just doesn't seem right. I don't know why they couldn't get real animals. I guess it would just be too expensive with the cleanup and just training them and having like tamers there in order to keep the animals, there. CGI is all the rage here. The dwarves do look good. Like, they recast the dwarves, just in case I remember. If I'm remembering that wrong, please tell me. But I believe they actually had actors first place, but then they decided to replace them because it was negatively received, which seems a little bit off-putting because they went from employing these actors to now just using CGI in order to change them. But they look good. Like, you can look at each one of them and just tell which dwarf is which. Sleepy, Grumpy, all of them. So the dwarves, they look good. Like, no complaints about that. Like I said, the costumes, the presentation, the set design, all of it looks great. It's just the choice of actor that I just really don't understand, where it just makes no sense. Like, I don't think we get a real look at the Huntsman. Like, I would assume, like, this is the Huntsman, which looks fine, but I don't know about the guards. Maybe the queen sends the guards after she finds out that Snow White's still alive. We get the poison apple, which looks pretty cool in the way it's designed. So, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. The problem is convincing people enough to, like, watch the film. That's the thing. Like, I saw Beauty and the Beast, and I saw Aladdin, and I didn't like either one of them. Like, it just didn't compare to the original, and I get that's a really hard stance. It's very hard to convince someone with rose-colored glasses, but in the case of rose-colored glasses, you can watch the original and see how much better they are. But in this case, I see this just being a painfully average film for the average moviegoer. Like, they watch this and they're like, I'd rather watch the original, like I said for Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast. But it's just like the way it's presented in a way that doesn't really capture the heart and soul of Snow White, because the protagonist just has no characteristic that really resembles the original character in that way. So that's just my opinion. I don't know how I really feel. Like, I'm not going to leave a like or a dislike. I'm really on the fence with this. But considering this has over 200k views and only 3.8 likes, it's not looking good for this movie. So the fact they didn't just cast actual people to dwarfism is so dumb. I feel like they should have just cast people who were short people in order to, for the dwarves to make it full live action. You mean to tell me that the evil queen played by Gal Gadot is jealous of Snow White played by Rachel Zegler? I get that. Like, I mean, the reason is that the way I saw it is that the evil queen was already beautiful. It was just her ego. Like, that was the whole major issue. She needed to be the best. She needed to be the fairest of them all. It was ultimately her ego, and the hag was a representation of her inner beauty. Like, that's how she actually looked. At least maybe people will appreciate the 1937 classic more after this. Maybe that's their plan. That after this film, more people will buy the original version, because you can buy the original version on YouTube and Amazon, I believe. Like, Disney used to do this thing where they would lock things in the Disney Vault for scarcity purposes. It's like the past version of the Battle Pass. They would basically say, oh, we would stop selling this film after a certain amount of time, so you better get it now before they stop selling it. It'll go back into the Disney Vault, and then they'll bring it out of the vault and resell them and then start making a killing. That's kind of what they did. But nowadays, with digital purchases and, torrent sites and all that, they realize, you know what, there's no reason to do that anymore. If we don't sell them through legitimate means, people will just find ways to download them illegally. Imagine if you were a kid in 1937 that grew up with the original and still living today to get to see this get made. I mean, I wasn't born in 1937, but I watched all the Disney classic films, and I slightly agree with that. I don't think this is looking to be a terrible film, but when you're going up against a major Disney classic that has exceptionally positive reception even to this day, that's very difficult to do. It's like with any reboot of any video game. Like with Ratchet and Clank, or what's another reboot? God of War. Technically, that's a soft reboot, the 2017 release. They didn't even give her a red headband. Oh, he's right. I didn't even notice that, but they did give her a gold chain. IGN review 8, Rotten Tomatoes 90, Rotten Tomato user score 5. Honestly, I predict that's going to happen. Look at The Acolyte. Like, that film, that TV series was extremely panned, but apparently all the top critics say it's one of the best Star Wars films of all time, Star Wars TV shows of all time, even though they haven't even declared a season 2, so that's saying something. It also happened with Captain Marvel. She's Gal Gadot. She doesn't need to compete with any woman. Again, it's not about the beauty, it's about the ego. Like, I think people are too fixated on the beauty of Gal Gadot. It's more about the ego. Like, if you look at the original, the evil queen is a beautiful woman. It's just her ego that gets the better of her, that she needs to be the best. She needs to be the fairest of them all. And if she doesn't get that, she'll kill whatever competition is out there. Whereas Snow White, she doesn't care. She literally doesn't care. She's happy living her life, going into the garden, picking flowers, singing, doing chores. Like, literally, she's just happy. And that's what makes her so fair, and people love being around her. How the dwarves just accept her as part of their family and allow her to stay there. Why animals come when she sings. It's the idea that she's so pure and innocent and just welcoming that makes her so beautiful and fair. Like, yeah, she is physically beautiful, but it's also her personality, and it's reflected of the evil queen, how she may be beautiful on the outside, but on the inside she's the hag, as we saw. And it kind of just reflects what I said about that whole eyebrow scene where she's like smugly having that little eyebrow scene. Like, that right there, it's just so out of character of Snow White. But tell me what you think about this. I'd love to hear other people's opinions. Are you excited for this? Did you see the original, whether you hate it or you liked it? But that's it for me. For me, I don't know if I'm going to watch this. I'll probably just wait until it's free somewhere on an airplane or something. That's probably how I'm going to watch it. I've stopped giving my money to things that I just have no interest in anymore. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Like, dislike, your choice. Hopefully this doesn't get copyright claimed, but we'll see.